experiences drought in the middle of the year. That is June to July. But this time round, it was experienced on the 10th of May to 12th of August, meaning there was no harvest at all in Teso region, including my county as a case study, and a report was submitted to the office of the minister. It is now my request that the Minister of Disaster and Agriculture comes in to give irrigation system to the people of Teso in order to continue with the agricultural production. Since agriculture is a backbone of Teso, we are not lazy. We are very active. It is only rains that are making us lazy because you can't do anything. It is my prayer that the minister plans to give us seedlings, free seedlings, in order to promote agroforestry. Because we want to get a solution. Maybe in the case we plant these trees, we shall have rains. Also to give us short-term seeds. That is all I wanted to say. I thank you.
Bulambuli District.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm Engineer Irene Muloni, Woman MP Bulambuli District. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank my brother, the Honorable Minister, for the report. And in addition to what my colleagues from Mount Elgon Zone have expressed here, Mount Elgon is prone to landslides, to floods, to droughts, and the government took it upon itself to find a lasting solution by setting up the settlement camp in Bonambuche. A number of people have been resettled, and the government also agreed to plan for at least 8 billion shillings every financial year for their resettlement process. But Right Honorable Prime Minister, according to the report that we've received from the minister here, I don't see any mention of some of those programs that government has put in place. And for the last 2 years, we haven't seen that 8 billion for every year going towards the resettling of those people in Bulambuli. Otherwise, this would go a long way in trying to safeguard the mountainous areas and promote afforestation so that our people are resettled in safer places. Finally, I would like the minister to indicate the timelines of this response, which are in queue for these districts that have experienced these disasters. Thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For record, Kaya Christine Nachimoero, Chiboga District 1 MP, but also the Shadow Minister for Water and Environment. Thank you, Minister, for the presentation. First of all, we are very happy with your report, bringing out some of the vulnerabilities. But my first prayer is to regularize the vulnerability assessments. And when we get these vulnerability assessments, we inform the early warning systems that we have. We have UNMA, we have the Office of the Prime Minister that is also taking on that role of giving us information early to enable our populations decide adequately on what to do. But as we speak, most of the reports show the destruction other than what will happen in the future. In the last 10th Parliament, when I was coordinating the Parliamentary Forum on Climate Change, the members were accessing some information, early warning information from UNUMA. But now that there are proposals of merging, I think somehow they're disorganized. But I pray that this Parliament is also put on the list of the respondents for this information. Then, Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of increasing water on lakes is not only as a result of increasing heat or temperatures, but as a result of siltation as well. Our people have gone ahead to use to use mountains for planting crops. And that one has also exacerbated erosion that brings a lot of soils in our lakes. There are some people, including some members of parliament, that accessed leases to plant forests, but it is over 4 years. Some of those people have not used the land leased to plant the trees, and those pieces are bare, and they are bringing us a lot of erosion, which ends up in our rivers and lakes, causing a lot of siltation and increased levels. So it is very important that the Minister for Agriculture, the Minister for Water and Environment should have been in this place to actually inform us. For example, the river catchment areas, watersheds, and titling, cancelling of titles in wetlands.
Thank you. My friends at the back, let me start with Oyam, then I come this way.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Allow me to join colleagues for thanking the Minister for coming up with this statement. Honourable Speaker, I want to start my submission by asking a question to the Honourable Minister. Your ministry is Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees. I want to ask, how prepared are we? Yes, we have relief, which is even not enough. Disasters, we have them all over the country. And refugees, we have them all over the country. Mr. Speaker, the issue of disasters is really a national and a common phenomena that needs us to plan in the present and even in the future. There are things that we see and there are things that we don't see. Now, I would like to really interest the Minister, first of all, in the statement that he has given. I've seen a lot of money that has been already spent, but I represent Oyam district and there are a number of issues as far as our people are concerned. There are people who have lost their houses and they have got shelters with their relatives, and I don't see them included here. Two, the issue of tunnels was raised on the floor of this parliament in Teso. I've not seen it also coming here, and yet that is a looming disaster. Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister made mention of the multi-sectoral ministries, and I would have loved to see the ministries, for example, the road sector. We have so many impact of disasters as far as our roads is concerned. Water has been mentioned, education, so many classroom blocks have been blown. But now we don't have any minister in charge of such dockets. So my humble submission is this. One, we need a national comprehensive plan to be given by this ministry. Number two, also a comprehensive data coming from all over the country, not only one part of the country. Then, three, we need sensitization. Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister made mention of local governments. Local governments are very, very key in this matter. The people must be sensitized, and more especially the women, because the issue of disasters and also the impact of climate change and environmental laws and all that needs to go down to our people. And the women, who are the majority, must be informed. They must be made aware of exactly.
Thank you very much, honourable members. It's 5 minutes to, and we are closing at 10 minutes past. I'm rolling this up. I'm going to the shadow government, and then I come to the minister, who will have about 8 minutes to respond, and then we'll close this matter. I think the debate has been good, but the time is not allowing. It's supposed to be 1 hour. We have only 15 minutes to close, and I want to process the closure also properly with responses from the minister on the matters you have raised. And I have the shadow minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I want to thank the Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Refugees for this report. Of course, listening to how he submitted his report, you could feel the pain that the Minister also shares the same anguish that members have. I would like to add briefly, Mr. Speaker, sir, if it were possible for the Ministry to come to Parliament every session to brief members on the assessment they have done and the packages available, to avoid members of Parliament coming here daily, because even after today, tomorrow another member of Parliament will come here reporting about hailstorms, about floods. If we had a standard response mechanism that every member of Parliament knows, we would not come here, we would just go straight away and get this. So that would help us every session of Parliament. Of course, Mr. Speaker, the package itself has to be standardized. When you hear the ministry responding, first of all, it will come 6 months or even a year after you have raised the matter here. Members are here. It is now 3-4 months. We have not really received what we have asked for. Secondly, if you are responding, it must be adequate to address the concerns that people have. In my constituency, one time, the ministry responded after about 6 months, but they were taking seeds. And the members of the public waited from 8 in the morning, and the seeds arrived at around 4 p.m. By the time they were given a cup of groundnuts, they ate on the way. When they're going back home, they had finished even the groundnut. So let it be adequate enough so that members can take care. Thirdly, I would like to inform the minister that amongst your list, I have seen a number of districts. Lira district has been affected. My own constituency of Erute County South, the sub-county of Agali, just yesterday, all the crops and houses have been raised down. And this report is on the way coming to your office. I don't want again to raise it here after. Lastly, I want to invite members of Parliament. We are the ones, members of Parliament, we are the ones who appropriate. We are the ones asking questions here.
There's a clarification matter there?
Thank you very much, Honorable Jonathan Odu. You mentioned something very interesting. They were bringing seeds for planting, and the people ate them on the way. What did they plant? It was 1 cup really adequate to plant in about 1 to 2 acres.
Thank you very much. The point I was driving at is the adequacy of the response. Most times members will agree here, even the posho, even the beans that are given hardly can be cooked for 3 or 4 days in a home. That's the point I was trying to drive my brother from the other side. Lastly, I want to invite members of Parliament that when it comes to time for budgeting, sometimes we look really funny when we are the ones asking the minister to do something, and yet we don't give them money when it comes to that. Now that this disaster affects each and every constituency, when it comes to budgeting, let's stand firm and provide the ministry so that when we go there, we can be able to get the support. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. You need to roll this up in about 8 minutes. The issues are many.
Procedure, Speaker.
Procedure.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm rising on procedural matter. I have looked at the presentation of the Minister, and I'm rather surprised that the presentation leaves out some of the very critical areas. For example, Kasese. Kasese has not been mentioned in this report. We would have wanted to know, because Kasese has been burdened with flood for a long time. By now, you should have a program of how to deal with it. Secondly, Dokolo, for example, has even cut off some of the vital installation for the government. You know very well that
the
procedural matter is that the flood in Dokolo, specifically in Kachung, in Agwata, has cut off water supply to the city, the new city of Lira. And the letter concerning Dokolo flood is presented to your office, the office of through the Prime Minister's office. And up to now, we have not seen any action being taken to ensure that the new city of Lira gets constant supply of water from Dokolo. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I want the minister to come back with a holistic report incorporating all these vital issues, because now just lamenting like all of us doesn't make sense. Is it therefore procedurally right for the for the Right Honourable Speaker, protect me from this. Speaker, protect me from the mob.
Honourable Member for Dogolo, I don't know which procedure you are using now. I think we might have to make a different set of rules for Honourable Cecilia one, and then another one for all of us, because the procedure she uses is quite different from the ones I read in the rules. Honourable Minister? Now you have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm only rich with information, Right Honourable Speaker, from colleagues. To me, I take your criticism or whatever comes as a lesson, which I absorb and see how better I can use those information. So thank you very much, colleagues. Now, on a few areas I would wish to clarify. First of all, honourable colleagues, I want you, in fact, I've opened a small office within my office where I'm receiving all this information. I want to start receiving information from colleagues in Parliament so that I can compile them for attention, so that we can work on them as soon as we get resources. We respond to some of those issues required by a colleague. The graphs is not colored, but I think maybe there's been a problem of transmitting it. Food banks, I think this is something now, when we are going to plan now, I want to have at least food storage in every region, because the food issues have become a problem. If we can have silos in about 4 of our regional centers or 5, so that the reaction is faster when there is a need for food and other supplies. I'm going to work it out in our program, because at the moment I'm working out on a program of response to disaster, where we will need to be more equipped with equipment. Like, for example, I gave examples of areas of Kabilebion, Kumi, and all these areas. I've been in places like Toroma, Orungo, and all these places of my honorable colleague. I've seen when there's heavy rain like now, the land is all flooded with about 6 inches of water, and the cassava get rotten and so on. And actually at one point, I went there with my allowance I had about 1 million shillings in my pocket. I had to spend it all to the people whom I was seeing suffering, including an old public servant who retired, who is now sleeping on water. It was painful. Those are the challenges we go through. Flood has gone beyond the banks. That is true. I still gave you a proposal that we should mark those positions where the flood has gone. I would wish to budget for possible with the Ministry of Disaster, with the Ministry of Water, to work out solutions to those people who are affected by rains, by water displacement. If we can demarcate those places and also source for money to acquire land on dry land, on better location, to enable these people to move away from the waterways. That would be the best solution. Now, yes.
The clarification I'm seeking, Honourable Minister, pertains to the contingencies fund. You have always complained whenever you have come with a report to this House that what this House appropriates to the contingencies fund, you have always been frustrated by the Ministry of Finance. So we would like you to come out very clear on this, because it is supposed to be 0.5 according to the Section 26 of the Public Finance and Management Act. 0.5% of the previous national budget. What's happening? Because other sectors do not complain. Security receives its whopping trillions. What has been happening to the contingencies fund? Who is frustrating you, Honorable Minister?
But really, honorable members, you cannot raise a clarification point on a matter that has not been raised. You cannot use this opportunity to bring in things that have not been said. Honorable Minister.
Sorry, colleague, you must know that this disaster we are talking about of effects of excessive rain and so forth is not alone in the country. There is now COVID-19, which requires a lot of medicine, vaccinations, and the rest of it. All this is now, were not in the plans of the Ministry of Health. So it all comes from the disaster, from this contingency fund. That's one example. There are many such occurrences, so that actually the 5% you put, 0.5% you put for contingency fund, by itself is not a budget for the Ministry of Disaster. It is one of those budgets we can beg to get money from, through, in order to respond to disaster. Somebody mentioned here preparedness. Yes, we are now prepared than we've ever been before. We know when those disasters are coming. We predict them. And we even inform government. We inform the Ministry of Finance and other colleagues that we expect this disaster. And we have hazard maps.
Point of privilege. Privilege.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I move on the point of privilege. The Minister has just presented his statement here, and now he's actually expressing that he's even more prepared than ever before. Just the other week, I was here on the floor of Parliament. I presented the issues of a parish in my constituency, which was hit by heavy rains, hailstones. 2 people died.
Did you say you rose
yes.
on point of privilege?
Yes, Right Honourable.
Please raise the point of privilege.
Is it a matter of privilege that when the minister is prepared than ever before, and he puts those places which are pending response for month of August, he leaves out Uganda district when actually presented the issue here, and the letter was written to his office? Is it a matter of privilege that Uganda be left out?
Please let's stop amending rules as we go along. You must have shared the car with Honorable Cecilia Wall this morning. But that's not certainly a point of privilege. You know what privilege is. You wanted to raise a concern that your district has not been captured in the minister's report. And you used a very rare vehicle, and I was surprised if there was a matter of privilege arising, and it's not to my knowledge. But I think the minister has received the notice, the issue.
Right Honourable colleague from Uganda, when I said we're prepared, sorry, it might be misunderstood. Prepared means really with information, not with material. We didn't have, because Can I explain before you just jump in?
No, the use of language today in this house, I don't know.
What I meant, first of all, colleague, before people interrupt, let me explain. Before interruption, let me explain. In the disaster preparedness, we have developed during my period now, when I've been there now 8 years, we have developed a system connected to these world hydrometeorological systems, whereby we are able to predict within the period of 1 year, we can predict ahead of time when we can have El Nino, when we can be all right, when the rain will be normal, when we shall have drought. All those information are available. And those information, we have been demanding that we are given a budget based on our plans based on information. And that's how we are prepared. But unfortunately, the money side, the resource side is not coming in to back that in kind of base. So these are the challenges we have. But we are prepared in terms of information, we are up to date.
Honorable Minister, your time is actually up.
I've done with, thank you. So we shall work out on plans now, physical plan, and see how this Parliament can assist us if we can generate budgets based on our projections of the disasters and also on how we can tackle the current problems. We shall work on that. I've mentioned on silos, every possible food storages, if possible, in the region, to make sure that we respond fast. Because our response now takes ages, because we have first to look for money and it takes time. We are not organized with respect to that. And if we had money, if we are well planned and we have a budget, we could even buy all these bumper harvests, store them in those silos, and make sure that our response is timely. Bundibujo, I was there myself. I went to Bundibujo. I was shown, although I didn't step in the depression where the earth went down. I didn't go close because you never know, it could be dangerous. But definitely I saw that with my eyes, and it is a possibility some geophysical challenges, whereby maybe underground there could have been causes why this earth moved at that distance. And we've been working with the Ministry of, with Makerere University Geological Department. They are equally cash constraints. For example, these cracks in Mount Elgon is not only there, the crack has followed Achua Valley, eastern Rift Valley. Along that route, the crack has gone up to Kenya. That deep crack is going across. In fact, Africa continent in another maybe 1,000 years may be split into another, there will be ocean in between us. Uganda may be split into two with a big ocean in between. So that the eastern part of Uganda may go as another island, and northern Uganda will be split into half, the other part will be in the western. I don't know. This is what the geological predictions are. And we have engaged Makerere University to develop and set up a gadget for monitoring the rate of displacement of that crack. How wide is it open, at what rate is it, so that we can determine the dangers ahead of time. Because for the other predictions we have, but now except for that one we are trying to work on. Early warning systems, we have put some early warning system in some places, like in Palisa here, we have put in Butaleja early warning system against flood, which was there. And the problem with us is that the weakness, when systems like that are put, there's no culture of maintenance. Sometimes it goes off, and you need to, again, to wake up people at the headquarters to go down, to redo it, to reset it, and so forth. But those are the efforts we are trying to do, colleagues, amidst scarce resources. Hazard maps, for all of you, every district has hazard maps. And those hazard maps will reflect whether there's going to be landslide, whether there's going to be possible flash floods, whether there's going to be whatever nature, whether there's going to be drought, are reflected in hazard maps. I would recommend that every member, every member from the district, get hazard map for your district to know in advance what may befall you if there is El Nino rain. Our job will only be announcing that there will be El Nino rain and so on, you know what will befall you. We can announce that there's a possible drought coming, which may affect this region, and you know what will befall your regions. Those information are now available in our Department of Disaster. So we are disaster prepared, but not resource-wise. We shall have to work closely. In fact, with all this information you are giving, I will try to call my colleagues from Ministry of Water so that we form a joint committee. Ministry of Water, Ministry of Environment, because aspects of environment is also involved, so that we form a committee, a joint committee, and address this problem collectively. Other than me only struggle around with Posho around, we think we are solving a problem. We cannot solve it that way. We have to find that we sit together and address the fundamental issues. And then later on, collectively, we can be able to report to our colleagues in Parliament so that you are aware, we are aware of what is happening around us.
Honorable Minister.
Now, yes,
your time is really up.
Okay.
Now it's Prime Minister's question time.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, colleagues. I think there are many I'm very rich with information. I will go ahead and work on all this. Thank you.
I will ask the Minister of Finance to say something, but before he says anything, I think let's talk about priorities. The priorities of government is not set by Parliament. It is set by the executive branch, which sits in cabinet headed by the President. That is where the budget themes and all the things are agreed. That is where the priorities for the President who proposes the budget is set. Please let's stop passing the torch to Parliament, which now just processes what has been proposed by the President. So, Honorable Minister, please go put this case before Cabinet. Let it be a priority. Because by you coming here and make it look like we are the ones who can change things here, you put us in loggerheads with the President for nothing. Get it done from there. And then when you come here, we'll only approve what the President has proposed. The Prime Minister is here, and I have not yet given you the authority to speak, and you are turning on the microphone. Please, let me finish what I am saying, and then I can allow you to speak. So it's a shared responsibility, but all budgetary proposals come from the President, not from Parliament. Not from Parliament. So it is up to the executive to set its priorities right. If the matter of disaster is a serious matter affecting our people, rank it high and fund it. By the time it's coming to Parliament, we will only say, oh, they have done very well this time, we will approve. And we approve. And we give you the tools you need to go. Now, even your own priorities are not clear. Do you need tools? What tools do you need? What do you need? We don't know. But those things you propose to the President who prepares the budget and comes and reads to us that this is what I propose for this financial year. The Constitution says so. So let's follow what the Constitution says. Right, Honorable?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I had wanted, first of all, to inform you the Minister of Disaster Preparedness falls under my docket. Cabinet discussed this extensively, and we all agreed to come with SOPs that will help us to move forward. And we are doing this. The only reason we look a little bit shabby this time is because so many calamities before this country. You are aware. Like any other countries in the world, we had COVID. We felt we needed to save life with COVID before any other thing. Then we also had locusts, remember, that came in the eastern part of the country. We now have these other calamities. So, and you know how big our budget is as a nation. You know that we also suffered. The economy is struggling. Hope you know that. When we have lockdowns after lockdown, that also affects the economy. And of course, Minister of Finance cannot just get money anywhere unless we get it from taxpayers. And of course, you are aware that the burden of borrowing, you know how far we have gone, because Parliament is aware of everything. Honorable Speaker, I want to commit that government of Uganda is aware of all this, and we are prioritizing. We have done enough, but we need to do more. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. After that very powerful statement from the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Finance, do you have anything to say?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to enhance the submission of the Honorable Minister of Disaster Preparedness with 1 point in regard to the contingency fund. Right Honorable Speaker, the Public Finance Act of 2015 established a contingency fund of 0.5% of the previous total budget. Right Honorable Speaker, we have had constraints, however, we have walked the journey. In the current year running, we provided for an amount of 62 billion in the contingency fund first, and also the 220 to cater for
the 200 and what?
228 billion to cater for the COVID-related disasters. Right Honorable Speaker, in regard to funding the disasters from the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness, we have so far released 15 billion, and this is consistent with the quotas we have in the year. Our projection, assuming we don't get such kind of disasters which keep coming, we project to have utilized the 62 billion by end of the financial year. Mr. Speaker, on the question of the role of the executive on budgeting vis-à-vis Parliament, my view is that we should not burden Parliament. We are currently working out a solution in such a way that planning should inform budgeting, not the other way around. I have over the years seen situations whereby budgeting has been informing planning. Beginning next financial year, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, you will see a difference whereby the budget we shall bring to Parliament will be informed by the planning. The planning will solve most of the challenges our honorable colleagues have been highlighting in this debate. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Very good. Very good statement to close with. Gives us hope as Parliament, because the accusation has always been, Parliament has not done this, Parliament has not done this. We cannot propose a budget. The Constitution does not give us the mandate to do that. It is you people who should propose, the President who proposes the budget to us, we look at it, vote by vote, and then we supply money to and appropriate accordingly. But now you make it look as if it is Parliament which should, and that is why you have this problem of Parliament trying to do this because they are glaring gaps in some sector which you seem to have overlooked, and that's bringing conflict. We don't want this conflict to continue. We want a smooth operation between Parliament and the executive branch of government. After all, we all work for the people of this country. Thank you. Can we have the next item under 4?
Item 4, Roman 2.
We just hold on a bit. There was a question that was raised by Honorable Jonathan Odur from Route South about the COVID vaccines. I think we have more information now with Honorable Chris Barry, Dr. Bariomonsi would want to give to the House.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members. Earlier on at the beginning of this session, Honorable Jonathan Odur raised a point of urgent attention where he said there are vaccines circulating in the country with expiry dates August 2021 and September 2021. And I did promise that we would find out. And I have since gathered some information which I wanted to give the House. That one, there are no vaccines with expiry dates of August 2021 being given out as we speak today. But two, it is true there is AstraZeneca which is expiring on the 30th of September 2021, and I can give you the details that we have 2 batches. Batch 1 with the lot number PV46705, and I think this is the same number the Honorable Jonathan Odur gave me, that came into the country on the 18th of August 2021, and these are 247,680 doses. Then another batch, batch 2, with the number PV46706, with the 51,840 doses. Again, also this batch came together with the batch 1 on the 18th of August 2021. And the national medical stores distributed these vaccines starting on the 20th of August 2021 across the country, in all parts of the country, and they are being given, and there are few doses remaining, and the information from the Ministry of Health is that by the end of next week, these AstraZeneca doses will be consumed and finished. So the expiry date being 30th September, it is within the safe limits. There should be no problem with that. And the guidance from WHO and the medical profession is that when vaccines reach the expiry date before they have been used, they have to be withdrawn and cannot be used on the human population. Reason being that the potency of the vaccine significantly reduces, not necessarily the safety. The safety may be okay, is actually okay. The effectiveness and ability to protect someone decreases, and therefore this is the information, and I am assured that by the end of next week, all the remaining few vials will be used, so there should be no cause for alarm. So I thought I should. Okay.
Thank you very much. I think, honourable members, please let us move, please.
So thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, and I think I want to thank Honourable Jonathan Odur for the vigilance, and I think all of us should be vigilant so that we pick out all these issues from our communities. I thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Under item 4, we still have a pending matter.
Item 4, Roman 2, government business for the succeeding week, 14th to 16th September 2021.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, allow me to give a statement to this August House of the business of the succeeding week. Rule 28 of our Rules of Procedure requires the leader of government business to make a statement in the House regarding government business of the succeeding week. I'm therefore submitting the following business for the succeeding week, 14th to 16th September 2021. A statement on the update of COVID-19 vaccination in the country, and a statement on the update on the construction of Kabale Airport and the expansion of Entebbe Airport. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Item 5, Prime Minister's time.
Right Honorable.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, Honorable Kahunde Helen, Member of Parliament for Kiriandongo, asked a question. First of all, she gave a preamble that the traditional secondary schools in the Bunyoro sub-region are in a very dilapidated state. They include Kabalega, Duhaga, Ikoba, Satito, Winyi, Kibanda, St. Edwards, Naigana, among others. The question was, what plans does government have to get them fully rehabilitated, since most of them have colonial structures that don't meet the current education standards? My response is that the Ministry of Education and Sports is aware about the challenges related to the dilapidation of the infrastructure in traditional schools across the country, not only Bunyoro, but across the country. Given the high cost associated with the comprehensive rehabilitation of structures in traditional schools, the Ministry of Education and Sports has prepared a project for consideration by the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. The project will address the challenges faced by traditional schools in a holistic manner: infrastructure, leadership and governance. Colleagues, in the meantime, there are ongoing interventions by Ministry of Education and Sports to rehabilitate traditional secondary schools within the resource envelope available. Financial year 2021-2022, 13 schools are set to receive support for civil works, and 2 of these schools are from Bunyoro sub-region. They include Kabalega Senior Secondary School and St. Edwards Bukumi Senior Secondary School. The other beneficiary schools include St. Henry's Kitovu, Lango College, Bukedi College, Kachonga, Nabisunsa Girls, Nabumali High School, Vara Senior Secondary School in Arua District, Makerere College, Chigeze High School, Busoga College Mwiri, King's College Budo, and Intale School. Ministry of Education and Sports will continue intervening in the traditional schools in a phased manner based on the resource availability, as we await approval of the proposals project from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and of course Cabinet. Chibanda, Kabalega, Duhaga, and the others in other regions will be prioritized in next phase. The Honorable Tibandeke Charles, Member of Parliament, Bale County, Bale Kayunga Road, he says Bale Kayunga Road is a 89 kilometer from Galilaya, Kaongo, Kayunga town. It is the only main feeder highway road to Kayunga town and the district. If worked on and connected with a ferry on Lake Choga, acts as the only shortcut and the way to connect northern Uganda to central through Lake Choga, thus Apache, Amrata, Lira, and other regions like Teso, Masirina Kasongola among others. Bale Kayunga Road has ever been promised by His Excellency the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, during 3 consecutive political terms, campaigns in 2006, 2011, 2016, remaining non-reactive, according to Bale. The road, if constructed, serves almost 70% of the 1,580. I think he means TAS means I think taxpayers, all kilometers that Kayunga district is selected. Hence, 1,110 square kilometers Bale constituency, which bears no any tarmac road, hence retarding the socio-economic transformation and development, since it accelerates the rate of accidents and death by dust and muddy slippery ground during sunny and rainy season respectively. Thus, an urge to know the government plan on its construction and the entire process of tarmacking. Question number 2. What is the stand of government in construction and tarmacking of Bale Kayunga Highway Road? Honorable colleagues, my response is as follows. The Kayunga Bale Galilaya Road, which is 88.5 kilometers, is an existing gravel road in central region of Uganda in the Kayunga district. The road starts in the Kayunga Town Council and ends at the shores of Lake Kyoga at Kawongo landing site. Colleagues, I'm going to go there tomorrow. I'm going to Kayunga tomorrow, and my brother knows. The road is part of the National Road Network, which is managed and maintained by Ministry of Works and Transport through the Uganda Road Authority, which is called in UNURA. Honorable members, this road is one of the national roads selected for upgrading to paved standard by Uganda government as part of the 3rd National Development Plan. The upgrading of the road to paved standard is expected to improve road transport in the Kayunga district. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, NRM government appreciates the importance of the road to the socio-economic development of Kayunga district. It is expected that upgrading the road will increase the volume of trade in the district, improve the connection to the shores of Lake Kyoga, and improve the population's access to social services. Honorable members, the feasibility study and detailed engineering design for upgrading the road was completed in 2015. The road upgrading project was then included in the roads that were selected for upgrade in the National Development Plan 3 period running from 2021 to 2025. The road upgrading project will be undertaken in line with the National Development Plan 3. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to assure you and all honorable colleagues that the government of Uganda has prioritized the upgrading of the Kayunga Bale Galilaya Road as part of the National Development Plan 3. The Ministry of Works and Transport through Uganda National Roads Authority will ensure that the road project is undertaken as planned in the 3rd National Development Plan period. Again, Honorable Tebandeke, Member of Parliament for Bale, asked a question as follows. How is the government planning to harmonize the sugar cane growing projects across the country, which looks negative in terms of economic benefit analysis to the respective areas of sugar cane growing, that is Eastern, that is Usoga, Mayuge, Kaliro, Kakira, and Kaliro, and Central that is Bale Kayunga, among others. The project is anticipated as a poverty casual local point and slavery pool of employment sources. I pray that the government regulates one on employment job description by investment companies for just and fair pay of casual staff, that is shamba boys, cooks, askaris, to mention but a few, who earn an average of 3,000 shillings per day. Investment companies establishes both plantations and processing farms with the same operating areas so as to satisfy this economic benefit analysis. And sugarcane plantation draw a marginal revenue pay back to respective communities to cater for negative feedback in respective sugarcane growing communities. My response: since the early 90s to date, the sugarcane industry has been one of the fastest growing industries in the country. The sugarcane factories expanded from 3 sugar mills in 1995 to 14 sugar mills as of today. Uganda's annual sugar production has increased from 240 metric tons in 2008 to 560 metric tons in 2020 annually. Uganda is the only country in East Africa which exports sugar in the region. The sector contributes revenue to the government in form of taxes amounting to Uganda shillings 290 billion annually, and employs over 60,000 people directly into the factories, and over 200,000 people as cane outgrowers. In addition, the industry produces over 100 megawatts of electricity from bogus, the fabric by product left, that is the product left after milling the sugar cane. And about 50 megawatts is offloaded to the national grid. I'm saying about 50 megawatts is offloaded to the national grid to supplement electricity supply to industries and communities. 5 sugarcane factories, Kakira, Rugazi, Nyara, GM Sugar and Hoima Sugar, produce ethanol spirit, most of which is utilized to produce alcohol-based products such as sanitizers. The sanitizers have helped us in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, the sugar industry contributes significantly to the socio-economic transformation of our country. Right Honorable Speaker, the sugar industry is currently faced with several challenges like many other sub-sectors of agriculture and industry that has impacted on the productivity and profitability of the industry. These include low demand of sugar and limited access to markets during the COVID-19 period. And the other one is underutilization of installed sugar milling capacities. The other one is climate change impacts affecting crop yields, disease, and pest outbreaks. Honorable members, planned interventions by government to enhance the sustainability and the competitiveness of the sugar industry include the Sugar Act of 2020 was assented to by the President in April 2020. The object of the Act is to provide for development, regulation and promotion of the sugar industry, and the implementation and monitoring involves various stakeholders from government sugar millers, outgrowers, and other private sectors. I have directed the minister responsible for trade and cooperatives to put in place regulations and appropriate structures to spearhead implementation of the Sugar Act. This will streamline the registration, licensing of investments in the sugar industry, contractual agreements between farmers and millers, as well as sugarcane pricing. Support towards import substitution and export promotion. Government has licensed 5 sugar factories to produce industrial refined sugar, as the President has been talking about this. The production of industrial sugar in the country will enable us to reduce import bills of industrial sugar and save foreign exchange. This will also enable the millers to purchase more sugarcane from outgrowers at even a higher price, because there will be demand. Establishment of Sugarcane Research Institute. Honorable Speaker, the Sugar Act of 2020 provides for the establishment of Sugarcane Research Institute to undertake research for development of new varieties that are early maturing with high sugar content and resistant to diseases, among others. This will replace the existing poor cane varieties, which take 18 months to mature and low productivity. Government has prioritized establishment of the key research institute under the agro-industrialization program of National Development Plan 3. The other point is support towards value addition and capacity building for involvement of local communities. The Ministry of Trade and Industry and Cooperatives, through Uganda Development Corporation, has prioritized the establishment of a farmer-based cooperative society factory in the Busoga region to increase value addition and diversification to other products such as ethanol. The outgrowers will become stakeholders and own the sugar factory in the long run after building the necessary skills in management. In addition, government has planned to build 2 incubators to facilitate sugarcane outgrowers to build capacity in product development and entrepreneurship in the Busoga region as well. The other point is implementation of Biofuel Act 2018. The Biofuels Act 2018 was promulgated to introduce biofuels blending with petroleum products to be used in motor vehicles in Uganda. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development is in advanced stages in finalizing the development of the regulations to enable the Act to be implemented. This will be achieved through the following. This will achieve the following benefits. 1, improve Uganda's energy security by production of our own fuel. 2, create market for sugar cane to supply sugar mills to produce ethanol. 3, to create opportunities for employment. 4, combat effects to climate change by reducing greenhouse emissions that arise from burning petroleum products in vehicles, and save the country by 10 to 20% foreign exchange on the importation of petroleum. Honorable members, there are adequate laws and regulations to ensure our labor force are appropriately managed, including payment and enforcement of health and safety requirements in the work stations. Government, through Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, will further the matter and provide a report to the House in compliance with labour regulations in the sugar industry. Yet, Honourable Speaker, I beg to submit. Then, Honourable Chiwanuka Abdallah, Member of Parliament, Mukono North. This is his submission. Article 208 of the Constitution.
Right, Honourable. You have a timeline of 45 minutes to deal with the questions.
I have a timeline of 5 minutes.
45 minutes?
Yes.
And you have used most of it already. And I still see you have a lot of...
I still have a lot of work.
So I'll give you up to the top of the hour to conclude.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Honourable Chiwanuka Abdallah, Member of Parliament, Mukono North. This is his submission. Article 2, this is his question. Article 208 of the Constitution establishes the Uganda People's Defence Forces as the armed forces of Uganda. The functions of the UPDF are well spelled in Article 209 of the Constitution and Section 7 of the Ugandan People's Defence Forces Act 205. In a July 1st, 2021 directive to the Minister of Health and Minister of Education, copying to the Vice President and Prime Minister, Minister of Defence and Permanent Secretary, and the Chief of Defence Forces, the President directed that all new government schools and hospital projects should be handled by the UPDF Engineering Brigade starting from 2021-2022 financial year. The President has further issued a number of other directives to the Executive Director, Uganda National Roads Authority, to enter into agreement with a number of Chinese companies to design and build selected roads in Uganda. The question is, according to him, whether the directives of the President intend to provide for a new function of Uganda People's Defence Forces. And two, is also wondering whether the directives of the President supersede the procurement procedures under the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Act and regulations made there under. My response, honourable colleagues, is down. Uganda People's Defence Forces is a creature of the Constitution pursuant of Article 208 of the Constitution. Article 208(1) of the Constitution establishes the armed forces to be known as Uganda People's Defence Forces. Article 209 of the Constitution sets out the functions of the Uganda People's Forces. These are: 1, to preserve, defend the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Uganda, to cooperate with the civilian authority in emergency situations and in cases of natural disasters, to foster harmony and understanding between the defense forces and civilians. D, to engage in productive, I broadened D, to engage in productive activities for development of Uganda. Similarly, Section 7 of the Ugandan People's Defence Forces Act 2005, as amended in Parliamentary with the provisions of Article 209 of the Constitution that sets out the functions of Uganda People's Defence Forces. In responding to the first question, it can be understood from the provisions of Article 209D of the Constitution and Section 7D of the Uganda People's Defence Act 205 that the President's directive to the Ministries of Health and Education to use Army Construction Brigade to undertake construction projects is consistent with the functions of Uganda People's Defence Forces, as law permits the Defence Forces to engage in productive activities for the development of the country. It was observed by HE, the President, in his letter dated 1st July 2021, the Army Construction Brigade has built capacity and has been implementing many projects ranging from simple to high level and advanced construction projects at a lower cost. Therefore, in light of the above provisions of the law, it cannot be said that HE, the President, is providing a new function to the Uganda People's Defense Forces. Whether the directives of HE, the President, supersedes the procurement procedures under the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Act and the regulations. Right, Honorable Speaker, directive pertaining the construction brigade to undertake construction works under the Ministries of Health and Education, pursuant of Article 99(1) of the Ugandan Constitution, the executive authority of Uganda is vested in the President and is exercised in accordance with the Constitution and the laws of Uganda. According to this article, the President has the mandate to issue directives within the confines of the Constitution and the laws of Uganda. Article 79(1) of the Constitution bestows upon Parliament the powers to make laws on any matter for peace, for the peace, order, development, and good governance of Uganda. In exercise of the above function, Parliament enacted Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Act 2003, PPDA Act. The preamble to the PPDA Act sets out its objective as formulation of policies and regulatory practices in respect to public procurement. Section 2(1)(a)(I) of the PPDA Act provides that the Act applies to all public procurement activities that apply to finances originating from the consolidated fund. The term procurement is defined under Section 3 of the PPDA Act to mean acquisition by purchase, rental, lease, hire purchase, license, tenancy, franchise, or any other contractual means of any type of works, services, or supplies, or any combination. Furthermore, under Section 3 of the PPDA Act, a procuring and disposing entity is described to include a ministry, department of government, district council, a municipal council, a body corporate established under an act of Parliament, a company registered under the Companies Act, in which government controls more than 50% of the issued share capital of the company. Consequently, the schools and health centers or health facilities operated by government are procuring and disposing entities whose construction projects are funded by monies from the consolidated fund, and as such are mandated to procure the construction works following the procedures laid out in the PPDA Act. Section 95(a) of the PPDA Act provides that a procuring entity can undertake works using the personnel and equipment of another procuring entity. It states as follows: 95(a) force on account mechanism. A procurement 1(a), a procuring and disposing entity may, in accordance with regulations made under this Act, undertake works using the force on account mechanism. 2. In this section, force on account mechanism means undertaking the works of a procuring and disposing entity using the personnel and equipment of the procuring and disposing entity, or another procuring and disposing entity. With the above mechanism, procuring and disposing entities in the health and education sector to which the presidential directive applies can directly engage the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, under which the Army Construction Brigade falls, under the force on account mechanism as envisaged under Section 95(2) of the PPDA Act, which allows a procuring and a disposing entity to undertake the works of a procuring and disposing entity using the personnel and equipment of another procuring and disposing entity. What is the rationale of force account? The rationale of force account is that government entities may have the capacity through equipment and personnel to undertake a construction works, supplies, and consultancies. Examples of government entities that have used the force account mechanism to undertake construction works include the Uganda Police Force, was engaged by Ministry of Internal Affairs to paint its premises on Jinja Road. 2. Kira Motors Corporation engaged in NEC to undertake the construction of the assembling plant in Jinja. UNRA used their own personnel to undertake works for the road connecting to Chigo. NADS engaged the Ministry of Transport and Works in 2019 to use their newly acquired equipment to clear the land in Amuru for sugarcane planting. The following are some of the advantages. Of employing force account mechanism to execute construction projects. 1. This mechanism reduces on the length of procurement process involved in all procurement methods, which might also be detailed by administrative reviews, which might be delayed by administrative reviews. This mechanism reduces the cost of works, supplies, and services, as it is cheaper in comparison to the market price. Thus, money from the consolidated fund is saved and can be applied to other activities. Also, there is an added advantage of non-accumulation of interest and late payments. Number 3, there is no need for performance and advance payment guarantees, as a procuring and disposing entity is dealing with another government entity. It is important to note that the above force on account mechanism does not apply to donor-funded projects in the health and education sector, where agreements with donors contain conditions that providers shall originate from the country of origin of donors. In such cases, the conditions imposed by donors override the force on account mechanism. This is pursuant to Section 4A of the PPDA Act, which under...
Right, Honorable. There's a point being raised, but Honorable, I have advised against accessing the microphone before permission is given. On what matter do you raise?
Speaker, you said at the beginning that the rules provide that the Prime Minister has strictly 45 minutes. And Rule 45(9) provides that the Leader of Opposition will be required to reply. But right now, I've been checking time. The Prime Minister has gone beyond 1 hour, and yet the Leader of Opposition will also be required to respond or to reply. So I was just trying to seek clarification whether
is it clarification
it's a special
or procedure? Is it a clarification?
I can amend it to procedure, Right Honorable Speaker. Is it procedurally right for the Prime Minister to continue beyond 45 minutes?
No, because if it is clarification, then the Prime Minister has to deal with it, and I'm sure she does not want to deal with this matter. But if it is a procedural matter, I gave a guide. Now we amended the rules to accommodate further procedure, something like further procedure. Procedure from Rohama.
This is the Kajara, Right
Sorry,
Honorable
Kajara,
Speaker.
sorry.
Right Honorable Speaker, I stand to seek guidance from you concerning the procedure we are following with the questions sent to the Prime Minister. Questions are sent and the Prime Minister comes and gets a chance to answer. Mr. Speaker, I'm seeking guidance on a situation where a person will need to bring a supplementary question if at all he or she is not satisfied with the answer from the minister, from the Prime Minister. I seek your guidance.
What
Right
does the
Honourable
rule
Speaker.
say? What does the rule say? Just stick to the rules. The rules we do not permit supplementary questions to Prime Minister, and these rules we amended end of the last term of Parliament, which introduced these new procedures. It cut out supplementary questions to the Prime Minister. So the 45 minutes is the Prime Minister's time alone, and you must respect that. Yes, and she's the Prime Minister. So, but on the matter of the time, I think we have exceeded the time. But I was just going to allow you to deal with one question, complete one question.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
And then I come to the leader of opposition because the time is really gone. Just finish that question you are dealing with, Right Honorable. Then you leave the next one, number 5, for next phase.
Let me go to another question, since members have the answers on the answered. Can I finish the question, Right Honorable?
No, the time is now out, really.
Okay. Right Honorable Speaker, I want also to remind you that I started at 4:20 because there are some other engagements that you put in.
Now you are making an appeal.
Yes.
Let me take a procedural point.
Okay, let me go to another.
Procedure there.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, thank you for your guidance that we should leave the Prime Minister alone. But Right Honorable Speaker, whereas the rules do not provide, whereas the rules provide that the member who asked the question, the Prime Minister shares with that person. Right Honorable Speaker, some of these questions cut across the country. Are we proceeding well if it is only the member that asked the question? And for us here, we are just here, we can't even follow. Matters are not uploaded on the iPad. Just for example, the responses, they are there. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
No, really, Honorable. Yes, Right Honorable. Please wind up so that the leader of opposition can speak.
Okay, Right Honorable Speaker, let me go to question number 5. The Honorable Emile Kugonza, MP Buyanja, East Kibale District, asked a question that on 17th August 2021, in a meeting of Bunyoro Caucus with HE, the President of the Republic of Uganda, that I was directed with the Ministry of Education to establish a task force to fast-track the implementation of the establishment of a public university in Bunyoro. He asked Honorable Prime Minister, how far have you gone with implementing the presidential directive? My response, Right Honorable Speaker, is the government has embarked on the process of establishing public universities across the country to accommodate the growing numbers of students who require university education. Indeed, on 17th of August 2021, HE, the President, directed me and the Minister of Education to establish a task force to fast-track the implementation of the establishment of a public university in Bunyoro. Stakeholders' engagement has already been done, The task force has already been established to fast-track the process. The university, Right Honorable Speaker, is expected to begin in the next financial year of 2022-2023. And similarly, government is fast-tracking the establishment of Soga University. The establishment of the task force is in advanced stages, and the University of Soga is equally expected to begin in the next financial year 2022-2023. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg you to submit. I'll read these other questions and give responses next time. But honorable colleagues, you can go through these questions because they are already uploaded on our iPads. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. Today you have been so full of details, and you couldn't cover the whole range of questions. But the details are good, but also they limit you in how many questions you can deal with. You might want to review how you handle this in the coming days. The Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, in my reply to the responses by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the complaint has always remained rife because she should be extending courtesy to the office of the Leader of Opposition with those copies of those written. Again, you have fallen short of what you pledged the other time. Those copies ought to come in advance so that my reply is from an informed position. But that notwithstanding, I want to thank the honorable member from Bunyoro who raised that question of rehabilitation of schools. Schools, the whole country over, are in a dilapidated state. And before you get to secondary schools, already the government has failed in the lower institution is primary. Even with UP, which has helped to cause a massive enrollment. But you don't see a commensurate expansion of facilities. Pupils are studying under trees in places or districts which are prone to heavy downpours. Most of them go back early because under trees they cannot stay and learn with the rain. So before you even make those pledges of renovating schools like Navumari High School has been mentioned, at least I must salute the old boys. They are already have engaged in renovation of the school. And I know in most schools, those traditional secondary schools which you have mentioned, the old boys are doing something. I wish the government could complement the efforts of the old boys that are doing the renovations and the rehabilitation of those dilapidated buildings. The question on roads like Bale, Kayunga, and Kayunga connecting to Choga, the issue of roads in the country is a grave concern. And you know, the ministry, this sector of works and transport is one of the lion's share that takes the lion's share of the budget after actual security. It takes trillions of the taxpayers' money. And if you look at the quality even of the roads that are being constructed, it is wanting. And I would request that since you have already demonstrated right from inception by word and deed that you are intolerant to corruption, you should subject some of these contractors to scrutiny, and there is need for value for money audit, or even a forensic audit, to establish why most of these roads are shoddy, the works are shoddy, the quality is compromised. And then also there is a challenge with the pledges made by the ruling party, the NRM, which you are the government, at the lead of government business. The pledges that were made almost 30 years ago have never been honored, and you continue to make more. What guarantees are you putting actually to give optimism to the recipients of these services?
Bannayuganda bannange,